what is a brand trying to accomplish when they decide to put on a party?
Super Bowl week is the perfect week. As an example, again, clients are checking on Thursday. The game's not till Sunday. What are they going to do? Brands know that 90% of the people, attendees down there that early, are decision makers. So what that gives them is the opportunity to have a product launch, to start an activation.
Welcome to Sponsorable, a podcast that brings together sports organizers and brand leaders to talk about the business of grassroots sports. I'm Garrett Shea, and I've spent the last 20 years in the youth sports industry, where I've built nationally televised sporting events and corporate sponsorship programs. I created this podcast to bring in experts from the sports industry and have them share what they do in the space and how they do it. My guest today is going to talk about creating experiences with some of the biggest corporate brands at the globe's largest events. Please welcome CEO of LSM, Ira Levine. All right. Well, hey, Ira, it's great to have you. I'm certainly excited to talk with you about the world of corporate hospitality, some of the biggest events on the globe, and some of the biggest brands. So certainly excited to jump in here and learn from you and hear what's going on in the world of LSM.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to our conversation, Garrett. I truly appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, awesome. So we were talking a little bit before the show just about some of the different clients that you get a chance to work with, and clearly it's a who's who brand or list of brands, and some tremendous events like Super Bowl, Masters. Let's dive in and talk about like what's one of your favorite corporate hospitality kind of programs that you've developed through your business.
Well, actually, and that's a great question, Garrett. Actually, I have two, and I'll talk about both of them briefly and why they're my favorite. The first is the Masters. You don't even have to be a golf fan to see the mystique, the magic of Augusta, what it entails, the tradition. It's unlike any other event in the world, single-handedly. The second one would be the Kentucky Derby. It's by far for brands, for sponsors. It's a great spousal event. Everyone gets to dress up to the nines. They get to enjoy Churchill Downs, which again has its own tradition. And obviously, it's the horses. It's all about them that day. So the gambling, the mint juleps, the hats, and the quality time you get to spend with your invited guests at these events are what corporate America is taking advantage of from a business tool side. Sponsors are getting involved. They're gathering the data that are qualified for them to move forward. They drive metrics. They allow sponsors to build authentic relationships with verified prospects, which again gives them the value at these major sporting events.
So Ira, so part of this show is educating and sharing with our viewers, listeners about how is your business built, how are you making money, and how are you doing it through sport. So maybe kind of walk us through the mechanics of your business.
Okay, and another good question, Garrett. I curate experiences as a business tool around the major sporting events, client entertainment, consumer products, sweepstakes, whatever will drive your brand, revenue, bottom line is how I curate it. It's beyond the brand visibility and hospitality. Basically, the most valuable outcome is the relationships that you're building, and then obviously access to the data, the relationship insights. Each event curates a guest list of decision makers, investors, executives, influencers. It allows my clients to build authentic relationships with their verified prospects, guests, and the post-event data captured allows the brands to continue beyond the event where you can drive that measurable ROI, as you just asked, Gary.
Yeah. So like, you have a client like Coors Light, right? And they're trying, they want to host folks at the Super Bowl. and they're like at the end of the day, right? You invite me, Coors Light invites me to the Super Bowl. I'm likely gonna go. So it's an, it's to your point, it's an easy yes. And now I also have a chance to build relationships with those Coors Light executives, and with the hopes, I'm sure the hopes of them winning more business. Is that kind of the general premise?
Yeah, basically, in a nutshell, again, I curate these experiences, these packages, so my clients, who the Coors Lights of the world, if you will, can focus on quality time with their invited guests. So everything is turnkey. The experience is curated, as I mentioned. If we invite them to the Masters, to the Super Bowl, the likeliness of a yes is going to be greater than just a dinner, if you will, or a meeting offsite, which will get your attendees or your invited guests there. And again, my packages that are curated will give you that opportunity to spend all your time, your quality time with the invited guests to really further and mature your relationships.
So like in that situation where, the brand, so is your client, who are you like who is that on the brand side that you typically interact with? Is that like the brand manager? Is that like who typically is engaging with you from a brand standpoint?
That's a very good question. And well, it varies. It varies from brand managers all the way up to CEOs, depending on the level of the sponsorship of the package. Um, so it varies through difference. Is we have title sponsors, we have category sponsors, and then we just have companies that come in and just take advantage of the experience. So it varies from mid-level to C-level executives.
Got it. Like, give us a sense of a couple of different brands that you work with.
I work with Coca-Cola, I work with General Motors, I work with Morgan Stanley, and then I work with regional companies, such as Pierre Accounting. Um, we work with Ernst& and Young. The large corporations that are national usually take advantage of the worldwide events, the Olympics, the Super Bowl, the Ryder Cup, and then there's regional companies that take advantage when it's in their backyard as well.
And so I would imagine, right, as especially as you go across the, variety of different events, are you helping, these corporations with, as you think about like the package, is it the travel, the lodging, the kind of what are we doing while we're in LA for the, during the Olympics, and then like, is it everything also around the event that you're helping them think through and craft those experiences?
That's correct. I curate the a fully turnkey package. To your point, transportation when they arrive. Super Bowl is usually a 3, if not a 4-night minimum. Clients arrive on Thursday, Friday. Again, to your point, what are they gonna do now until Sunday? So I package everything inclusive of transportation. It could be golf if it's in the South. It can be celebrity bowling outing if it's up in the North, whatever it is. And the whole package is turnkey up into, through, and including the event, as well as the post-event recap. So again, everything is fully turnkey where my clients just need to literally show up and everything is taken care of.
And what's at some of these large events, obviously, the cost is rather significant for one person to go to, let alone 20 people to go to. Um, are What's the typical kind of group size when you're working with corporations like like at Ernst and Young or General Motors, around some of the larger events? Are they bringing like hundreds of people? Is it tens, twenties?
Usually, it's a group of 4 to as many as 50. Have we entertained more than that? Of course we have, but your typical to your question would be anywhere from 4 to 50, with I'd say 10 being the average.
Okay, great. So they're more intimate, groups that they're really looking to build a relationship with X number of prospects that are part of that 10 person group.
That's correct, because these decision makers, they understand the value of relationships, because relationships matter in every aspect of life. So if you can further your relationships with your clients, your colleagues, your business cohorts, if you will, obviously that's where you want to get to know people, where you can add value, find out where they're coming from, what their business model is, and the time that you have there is very unique and intimate, to your point. And that's why there's value for corporations to get involved in sponsorships, in sporting events, and really take advantage of not only the time you have, but also the data you can gather afterwards. It's invaluable.
And Ira, you're right. Like the power of relationships is so important, and it is having great guests like yourself, that I've been able to find through relationships that I have. For those of you who are watching and listening, make sure you like and subscribe so we can continue to get great guests on, like Ira Levine, CEO of LSM. So Ira, as we kind of look forward, we've talked a lot about kind of at least laying the groundwork for your business, the world of experiential corporate hospitality. As we kind of look out into the next couple of years, we got some major global sporting events coming to the U.S. Whether it is the World Cup, whether it is you laid it out, the Olympics. Maybe let's talk about World Cup. Obviously, that becomes a really complex event with so many different cities, so many different countries participating. Are you currently working on any World Cup activations?
Yes, actually, we are, believe it or not. We started working on the activations last July. The World Cup is not going to be here, obviously. So about 12 to 13 months out is when we start the planning process. We secure venues for pre-parties the evening before the World Cup finals. We have a huge sponsorship event going on in New York City. If you want to get involved, contact myself or Garrett for that. It will culminate with very well-known FIFA players as well-known decision makers in the sports marketing industry in a fireside chat, invite only, exclusive category sponsorships. And to your question, Garrett, we started this process last July, so a year before the event, securing the venues, sponsorship, deposits, getting everything in line. So when we do execute, there's not one stone that's unturned. There's not one prospect that is not contacted. And this way we can maximize all our sponsors' return on investment.
Sure. I mean, the power of a great party is definitely, yeah, and you see it every year with Super Bowl and some of the different great parties that take place the week of the Super Bowl. Maybe talk about that experience, and what is a brand truly trying to accomplish through throwing some sort of a party, because you look at the amount of money that some of these brands spend on, and I'll go back to the Super Bowl because that's something that comes every year, something that major brands are every year investing in. But talk about what is a brand trying to accomplish when they decide to put on a party.
Super Bowl week is the perfect week. As an example, again, clients are checking on Thursday. The game's not till Sunday. What are they going to do? Brands know that 90% of the people, attendees down there that early, are decision makers. So what that gives them is the opportunity to have a product launch, to start an activation. The level of the audience that transforms from a sponsorship and it's a one-day exposure, it gives you that opportunity for ongoing business development tool. So it maximizes long-term value and deal flow from one-day exposure. And again, 90% of the attendees down there are C-level decision makers. So talk about, shooting a small fish in a big pond. That gives you the opportunity to do that in that 1 3-hour increment, again, with the decision makers there present. So strike while the iron's hot. You can use any analogy you like, uh, but the opportunity is there, and so are the decision makers. So you do the math.
Sure. And as you're preparing to plan and execute the parties around World Cup, I've got to believe that, right? And we're kind of going back and forth between World Cup and Super Bowl analogies here, but or examples. I got to believe that that guest list is one of the harder things to control and right. How do you I get Super Bowl, how do you make sure that the right people are getting to the party? Is that do you are there organizations, companies that you have to outsource those things to, or like how's that process work?
We do all of that process internally. Um, it's basically simple. It's an invite-only event, and the data that we gather, everyone that attends needs to give us some information, not all their information, but the demographic is there, so we can contact them directly after and continue the relationship, further the relationship, or even build a relationship from the day that they gathered. So again, exclusive categories. They're the only insurance company there. We're gathering data. Everyone needs insurance, banking, whatever category specific it is. It might be a vehicle. Everyone buys vehicles. That one sponsor, that one client gathers all that data and now can contact them and knows that they were there present at the event and saw everything that they did and obviously maximize their investment right after the fact.
And a lot of times, like Super Bowl, you're thinking of like party. Like I was, my mind goes to like parties in the evening. But I've seen more and more kind of these social activations. To your point, like I want to launch a new product. And they tend to, or at least in my mind, they've kind of moved throughout the day, so that it's not just nighttime activity. But I've seen brands start to capture content at them and tell their story. How do you leverage that kind of social activation and the people that are there and push it across digital slash social channels? Are those pieces that are part of the activations that you put on?
Sometimes they are, most of the times they're not. The reason being is a lot of these large corporations have their own social media department. So they gather the data. Do we support them if necessary? Of course. But to answer your question specifically, most of the my clients, they gather their data. What we normally do is we have a media sponsor, depending on who it may be. It might be Worth Media, it could be Front Office Sports, whatever company that we collaborate with, and they'll gather the data with us. They'll interview our clients and help them drive sponsorship. They'll help them drive results. They'll help them drive foot traffic. They'll help them drive the bottom line at the end of the day. So that's how the social media aspect at least comes in from my standpoint or my business standpoint, and then we grow it from there.
So, like a lot of the events you know uh, that I've run in the past, bring in sponsors. Yes, they have their own sponsorship, or their own. I'm sorry, corporate social teams, capture or content teams, but try to But your event is giving them that platform to capture and showcase it. And is that accurate? So, like some of the clients that you have maybe bring in or leverage their own content teams and or social teams to amplify the event experience.
That's correct.
And as you kind of look, so obviously World Cup is coming this or 26 in June, July. Um, what other events are coming to the or not necessarily have to come to the US, but what other events are you looking forward to working on here in the coming or upcoming years?
Well, we have, from a calendar year standpoint, Super Bowl is coming up in San Francisco. We have the Final Four. We have the Masters in April. We have the Derby the first Saturday in May. Going into the PGA Championship towards the latter part of May, and then the summer months is the US Open, the British Open to culminate that. So those are the events that are coming up, at least in calendar 2026, that myself and my firm and I know my clients are really looking forward to. Looking forward to the opportunity to utilize all these events as a platform, as a business tool. Again, to build your relationships, to drive revenue, to drive foot traffic, whatever it may be, it all culminates in that, and it's exciting places to be. And again, it gives you that time that you can spend with your clients, quality face time that you normally don't have.
And certainly those repeat events or repeatable events, so like Super Bowl is every year, right? Um, World Cup is probably, probably an outlier, I'm assuming for you. So like, especially since it's going to move to another country here, 4 years later. Do you work on events outside? Like, will you work with your corporate brands on events outside the US, or are all of the events experiences that you're delivering US only?
No, they're worldwide. It's the event itself. Um, so it's basically logistics, transportation, very similar business model, but we all our events are worldwide. Obviously, the World Cup, the Ryder Cup will go across the pond in the next 2 years. The Olympics, we travel. So those major worldwide events, we do that worldwide. Obviously, the US events being the ones that I just mentioned, Masters is worldwide too, but Super Bowl, Derby, all on US soil.
And do you find that when you have to plan and activate an event outside the US, do you find those to be more challenging? Do you have to bring in different kind of specialists to kind of aid your business?
Yes, I actually do. Usually we have interpreters, and then we deal with the local government and wherever it may be, directly to expedite the process. So again, each state in the US is different, let alone each country all over the world. So you do have to jump through different hoops, sometimes more hoops. Sometimes the hoop isn't even circle, it's a square, but you still need to jump through it. So whatever it may take, to get permitting, to get the venues, liquor licensing, whatever those necessities are, is different in every not only in every single state, believe it or not, in the US, but in every different country.
That's a great tool that you're able to offer your corporate clients, only because, like, right, as we look at all of our US based sports professional sports leagues. I mean, they're all adding international events to their calendar. NFL, NBA, MLB, I mean, they're all expanding, getting outside the US. So to be able to take corporate client X, who's based in the US, overseas, and activate at different kind of or sports experiences. I'm sure that is, a great differentiator for you.
To my point, it's different. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier, but as long as you get ahead of everything, it all culminates successfully, and that's the key, the planning, the process. Um, as I mentioned before, we're already a year away. We're starting to secure venues. There's permitting, there's licensing. It goes with every event. So the more time you put into it, the further before, um, the faster you can get ahead of the curve because it does move. It does move quickly.
So Ira, we do have a number of college age folks that do listen into the show, and they're trying to learn and get educated on all things in the world of sports business. Um, I've got to imagine now, probably more so than ever, there are, within the college systems, there are tracks that can you can go into when it comes to hospitality and in different probably sectors. But how did you get into this space?
That's a great question, Garrett. Um, Out of college, I started working on Wall Street as a stockbroker. I did that for 7 years, and then I decided I wanted to make a change career-wise. I was young enough, let me see what's out there, and there was a company that, at the time, in the ads, it said, "Can you sell the Super Bowl?" I felt pretty confident I could, so I applied. Long story short, I received the job offer. I took the job. I learned the business there in about 9 months, and then I left. I started my own firm. So for all those kids that are out there, I didn't take the straight path, but I got on the path that I wanted and followed my dreams, my goals. And the sports hospitality, sports management is a fantastic career, but I did not take the straight line to get there. Again, I was a stockbroker for 7 years. I left, I took a shot, and here I am today, 27 years later, still in the industry and running my own firm at LSM Group.
And I got to believe that probably a lot, or like a lot of us, right? Sports is been a passion or a part of our lives, but the opportunity to work in sports, and I experience this at every phase of my career, and that is a lot of times you just got to get in and do it and learn from doing. There's not a whole lot of academic. Um, experiences that can prepare you for how do you run a sports activation in a different country, or how do how do you build and navigate some of these massive events. How do you navigate and build those relationships so you can access tickets, hotels, transportation. I mean, and what a lot of people probably fail to realize from looking at it from afar is, I mean, you have a lot of competition, right? I mean, there's a lot of groups out there that you're having to navigate around, that are taking up hotels, buying up transportation, venues, etc. Maybe talk a little bit about relationship. Like, how do you go about securing some of the tickets and special experiences? Do you have to have relationships at the if we use Super Bowl, at the NFL level? How does that end up working?
Correct. The relationship starts from the top, the governing bodies, if you will, the NFL, NHL, NBA, Churchill Downs. Um, and my relationship started with them again when I first started in the industry. Um, and that's how I built my business from a relationship standpoint. So I saw the value right away. And coming from a sports background, to your point, everyone likes to be in sports, and sports is a real good teacher. No matter what level you play at, it teaches you how to win, teaches you how to lose, teaches you how to be a teammate. All these life skills that you're not realizing you're learning when you're a youth, but to a, you get to a point where they're invaluable. And I built my business from the relationships there, the trust, that I was packaging these tickets with corporate end users. They're going in the right hands. No one's reselling these tickets that I have access to. Um, so they're gold, and you build that relationship, and the further it, the more access I have, the more access I get. It's unfortunately it's a finite amount. There's only a certain amount of seats in a stadium. There's only a certain amount of tickets at certain events, but you get to the point where you maximize your inventory and you get them in the right hands, just like any other business, and that's where your clients get value.
when you encounter or when you're working with a corporate brand like a General Motors, I'm assuming that that also helps you open a lot of doors that typically aren't open, right? If you are with General Motors and you call the NFL, it's a lot easier to to have conversations around an activation you're doing with General Motors than maybe it is off of maybe a smaller regional company.
Yeah, I mean, credibility is key. That goes with any industry. So the more credible you are, the easier access, the more doors are gonna be open, the more ears are gonna listen to you. So to your point, yes, it does add value, and obviously, you wanna do business with the Cadillacs of the world, with the high-end vehicles or whomever it may be. So it does open up a tremendous amount of doors.
And as you kind of look forward, are there, and we talked a little bit about a more traditional model, the corporate hospitality model, where you have a corporate client and they're going to, they're going to to take X number of people to the Masters. And spend quality time with them, so building that relationship. How about other models out there in the sports hospitality space? Are you working on anything that's different than that traditional corporate experience?
Yes, actually, we just, had a client that was West Coast client. They're looking to get involved in the Northeast, and I curated a business tool for them to not only gain exposure, but get the right people at the event. So we actually rented out Yankee Stadium and played softball on the field. Umpires, announcers, we had vendors in the stand because I wanted not only their clients, but their family members to see their dad, see their spouse play on the field, take pictures on the field at Yankee Stadium, um, and create that moment, that memory, the buzz, if you will. Um, and the return on investment was tremendous. I can't share the numbers, but it was in the three figures percentage wise, which is pretty good. So it was a successful event. So outside of the box, I can curate any package that again that my client would have value for. But my first question to most of my clients are, what does your client like? How are you going to gain exposure with them? What are they intrigued in? It could be tennis, it could be golf, it could be anything. It could be maybe a celebrity athlete, and we put together a package around them. So this way, their investment has value, their time has quality, and then they can nurture and further that relationship from there.
That's a great example. And I like that from a business perspective on a number of levels, right? That a lot of the events you talk about, these big, kind of tentpole events, are fixed in time. But your Yankee Stadium example, you can plot that at any time, at any time in the calendar. So that one, two, I love your continued reinforcement of memorable moments because, man, I mean, I can sit here and probably count on one hand the amount of memorable moments I've had in my career, and you just named a couple that are probably front and center, which tells me about the power of what you deliver. Playing in Yankee Stadium, I got to believe every single family member and dad that participated in that, it's like that's a moment that's going to last for 30 years. Just like I think back to the only Super Bowl I've ever been to, was 25 years ago, and it was for work reasons. But man, that was such a memorable moment, and I remember the corporation PlayStation was why I was there. So those, what you're delivering are these really amazing moments that are truly going to last, these folks for the rest of their lives. And that to me is the power in what LSM can do.
No, and it's true because relationships, again, they matter. They matter a lot. So to have these opportunities, and to your point, you remember exactly when the event was, you know who took you, and that's going to last you for a lifetime. That's power.
I couldn't agree more. Well, as we kind of embark on the show, sponsorable, we are talking about the business of grassroots sports, and as the world continues to evolve, I do see a lot of international travel and international trips that are occurring through groups that organize these things for athletes that are playing the sport. Um, Noted that you talked about, and it's more of a corporate example, or renting out Yankee Stadium and running a softball game there for the for that client. But are are you involved in anything that touches on the grassroots sports side? Do you see kind of the do you see the evolution of these paid international trips and kind of paid trips tied to grassroots sports?
I see that, Garrett, more now than I have ever in my career. Um, Venture capital companies are coming; they're getting involved now, not only with investing into professional teams, but to your point, grassroots sports. They're investing into leagues. They're investing into facilities. They're investing into the infrastructure like I've never seen before because there's value there. And I'm glad that corporate America is seeing this. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, and I would introduce this to companies, and we didn't realize these opportunities were even out there. How do I get involved in the Super Bowl? How do I be a sponsor at a product launch or an activation at the Masters? I didn't even know this was possible. So to gain traction and to see VC companies, venture capitalists actually come in and take advantage of the opportunities, it is greater than I've ever seen. And again, the value is there because the youth sports, the grassroots sports, is where all these athletes come from. We can't forget that. Without the grassroots sports, without the infrastructure, Josh Allen just signed a new deal with New Balance. One of his contingencies was all the youth football program in his entire hometown is now paid for. No kid or youth has to pay to play football. How beautiful is that? So again, the grassroots sports is where it starts, in my opinion. And that's where these athletes come. So I'm happy to see that corporate America, these sponsors, if you will, are getting involved because the value is there, and now is the time to take advantage of it.
No, that's a great statement. Well, Ira, for those who are interested in connecting with you directly, learning more about LSM, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, I would love that opportunity, Garrett. My website is www.lsmgp.com. The firm again is LSM Group. My phone number is 914-720-4661. So any of your listeners that would like to get involved, have a conversation, I love the opportunity. Feel free to reach out. Again, any question is a good question, especially when it comes about sports hospitality, sponsorship opportunities. I'll share all my experience, all the information that I have, and guide you into the valuable opportunity that's right in front of you.
Ira, thanks so much for coming on to Sponsorable. It's been a pleasure having you, and we look forward to all of the great event experiences that LSM will be a part of here in the near future.
Garrett, thank you so much. I had a great time. I appreciate you having me on the show.